when Charlie Lee, the creator of Litecoin, said,
My advice for myself would just to be, I think this will be surprising to a lot of people, but which is to be buy Bitcoin, store it away, don't sell anything, and don't do anything else related to crypto, and just sit on it and be anonymous. That would be my advice.
So don't follow in your footsteps.
Correct. Like
I mean,
creating
the
Litecoin did not really make me more money. It was a lot of headache. Yeah, it was. Yeah, just if you just buy Bitcoin, keep it away, stay anonymous, sit on it, don't sell anything, it would be better off.
At first glance, it sounded like humility, but context matters because remember back in 2017, Lee sold his entire Litecoin stack near the top, reportedly earning tens, if not hundreds, of millions of dollars. He insisted it wasn't for profit, but to instead avoid conflicts of interest. Now, years later, as he reflects on the space he helped shape, he now claims he wishes he'd remained anonymous, quietly investing instead of building in public. It's an unusual kind of regret, the kind that comes not from financial loss, but from disillusionment. And in that, Lee's honesty hits a nerve. Because whether you love or hate Litecoin, its story mirrors the larger journey of crypto itself, a movement born from ideals of decentralization and self-sovereignty, now stretched between innovation and speculation. Not every project failed, far from it. Many continue to push boundaries in finance, privacy, and infrastructure, but the culture around them often loses focus, rewarding short-term excitement over long-term conviction. For longtime Litecoin holders, this moment stings, not just financially, but psychologically. It's a living example of what we've talked about in the behavioral finance video I published this past week. Biases like endowment effect, anchoring, and loss aversion. Investors grow attached to assets simply because they own them, fixating on past highs and waiting for redemption that may never come. It's not greed necessarily, it is definitely human nature. And Lee's comments aren't an attack on innovation, they're a reminder that emotion can cloud judgment, even in a space built on logic and code. His regret isn't about creating Litecoin, it's about the weight of being public in an ecosystem that can turn on its builders overnight. And maybe that's what he's really saying. That staying anonymous, like Bitcoin's creator Satoshi Nakamoto, might have preserved both the mission and the message. Still, his comments hit at the perfect time because while individuals in crypto wrestle with legacy and identity, governments are once again stepping into the spotlight, dangling stimulus, inflating currencies, and using digital systems to regain the control that they've lost. And in that contrast between personal responsibility and institutional control lies the real story of this market cycle. President Trump's proposal to send Americans up to $2,000 in tariff-funded stimulus checks has set markets buzzing. On the surface, it sounds like relief. In reality, it's closer to digital dependency, a modern twist on universal basic income that keeps citizens hooked on government lifelines while quietly draining long-term stability. These programs rarely empower people, they pacify them. The state prints, spends, and surveils while the public cheers for handouts that erode their own purchasing power. Every check becomes another chain, conditioning society to trade freedom for convenience. Some crypto traders are seeing it differently. They know liquidity fuels rallies and stimulus means money flows into risk assets, especially Bitcoin. But beneath the short-term pump lies the same truth. Every wave of artificial liquidity makes people more reliant on the system that Bitcoin was built to escape. And in a world where the state plays savior, financial independence is rebellion. As stimulus talk spreads, the institutions run to amplify it. Citigroup calls for $133,000 Bitcoin, JP Morgan wants $165,000 Bitcoin, and Standard Chartered $200,000 Bitcoin. The headlines sound bullish, but the timing feels engineered. These forecasts drive excitement, herd momentum, and liquidity, often just before the next correction. The same banks that once mocked Bitcoin now are really trying their best to shape its narrative, using it as a controlled asset within a system it was meant to disrupt. Bitcoin's strength has not changed. Still, 21 million coins, borderless, censorship resistant. What has changed is who is trying to control the narrative around it. Now, to the cypherpunk, this isn't liberation, it's co-option. The goal was never for Bitcoin to join Wall Street. The goal was to make Wall Street obsolete. Now, beneath the headlines, the economy is quietly unraveling. Core inflation remains above 2.9%. Labor markets are weakening. Deficits exceed $2 trillion a year. $2 trillion a year. And the government just suspended jobs reports, hiding the data it can't fix. Yet markets still rise, fueled by rate cuts and AI-driven spending sprees. It's the illusion of prosperity. The system keeps printing to survive, propping up asset prices while hollowing out real value. In this environment, cash isn't safety, it's decay. That's why owning assets isn't greed anymore, it's survival. Whether it's Bitcoin, other hard commodities, or productive property, the only rational play is to exit the system before it finishes consuming itself. This is the endgame of fiat dependence. The state buries truth behind stimulus and growth while quietly transferring wealth from savers to debtors, from citizens to governments. The only hedge left is sovereignty. Not everyone's buying the hype. Analysts like Joe Carlasare have pushed back on the $200,000 Bitcoin forecasts, calling them mathematically unrealistic without massive daily inflows. He's right. Parabolic moves get exponentially harder as market caps grow. It's a needed dose of realism in a world addicted to hopium. Institutions love bold predictions because they drive engagement and liquidity. But these same calls often front-run their own profit-taking. Retail chases and the whales unload. But volatility isn't the enemy. Dependence is. The mission was never about timing tops. It was about stepping outside a system built on manipulation, whether that manipulation comes from governments or from the financial elite steering sentiment. In this market, skepticism isn't pessimism, it's protection. And stablecoins were once seen as bridges between the old world and the new, a way to bring dollars onto the blockchain, but as they've grown, it's become clear that they serve the same master. They extend the reach of fiat, not freedom. Now, even Naval is saying stablecoins are just CBDCs with extra steps. We've been saying it for a long time, especially Toby. But Naval here, he wasn't exaggerating. Most are fully compliant, trackable, and redeemable only through regulated institutions. They give the illusion of decentralization while anchoring crypto liquidity to the very same system it was meant to replace. Now here's something interesting. The biggest USD stablecoin issuers now rank among the largest buyers of US treasuries, effectively funding the same deficits Bitcoin was created to escape. They've become the government's quiet allies, digital instruments wrapped in blockchain branding. And the US government loves to have them buying their treasuries because no one else will, since the other biggest holders of US debt, like Japan and China, have begun preferring gold. The US has been performing debt monetization called treasury buybacks to the tune of $132.25 billion so far this year alone. These numbers should terrify you. Every new stablecoin minted strengthens the dollar's control, not its competition. And the more traders rely on them for stability, the more fragile that stability actually becomes because it rests on trust in the same centralized players who built the problem in the first place. Real stability doesn't come from pegs. It comes from independence. From stimulus checks to stablecoins, it's clear the world is drifting toward a new kind of dependency, one where control is disguised as convenience. Yet in the middle of it all, crypto still represents something rare: the freedom to opt out and to build and to choose transparency over trust. Innovation isn't the enemy. Centralization is. As long as builders and investors remember that difference, this space will keep evolving towards something better, something truly independent. Now, if you want to learn how to navigate that future with confidence and clarity, head over to learningcrypto.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.